Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, hi, I'm Olivia. I'm so glad to have you here. If you've never read or watched the movie Gone Girl, what are you doing? Stop this video, go read it or watch it, because if not, I'm going to be telling you spoilers. Now that you have that warning, the plot of Gone Girl is about a woman who fakes her own abduction to make it look like her husband killed her. And when the husband tries to convince people she was really abducted because he doesn't know she orchestrated it all, he's not believed. They think he killed her. When she unexpectedly comes back, both husband and wife play into the lie that she was kidnapped. Well, in 2015, a very real couple lived through something eerily similar. Denise Huskins and Aaron Quinn are the couple in question, though they were not married like in Gone Girl. In fact, they had only been dating for 7 months, when on March 23, 2015, they were awakened in their bed around 3 a.m. A voice was telling them that this was a robbery. They had lights shined in their eyes. They heard men swarming around their house. A man dressed in a black wetsuit put zip ties down on the bed and told Denise to tie up Aaron. And he was addressing them by their names, like he knew them. The home invader then bound Denise with the zip ties, stuffed them both into a closet with swim goggles that had been covered in duct tape over their eyes and headphones that were playing music over their ears. He then forced them to drink a cocktail of cough syrup and a sedative. Aaron's headphones played a pre-recorded message that indicated that the break-in was being performed by a professional group there to collect financial debts, and threatened that if he didn't comply or tried to act out, they would hurt Denise. Aaron fell asleep from the drugs. When he awoke, he was on the couch and he was alone. Denise had been taken by the kidnappers. There was a camera faced at him, suggesting that the kidnapper was watching him. A section of the living room had also been taped off, with a warning that if Aaron left that area, Denise would be hurt. His cell phone contained a voicemail message with a financial demand of 2 payments of $8,500 and instructions to tell those who inquired about his transactions to say the funds were for the purchase of a ski boat. He waited 10 hours before finally risking it to call the Vallejo Police. A search was launched for Denise, and soon the media picked up on the story. And this was a pretty white woman, so of course there was going to be a ton of media coverage. However, soon the police began to suspect this wasn't a kidnapping at all. They interrogated Aaron for 18 hours. Instead of chasing down the kidnappers, they focused on breaking down Aaron's story, which was elaborate, but they thought he had concocted the story because he killed Denise. Meanwhile, Denise was driven in the trunk of her kidnapper's car 150 miles away to a hideout in South Lake Tahoe. In prison with her kidnappers, they forced Denise to listen to the news coverage of her own disappearance. She was kept heavily sedated and forced to wear blackout goggles while at the house. The entire time, she believed she was going to die. She was also raped twice while her kidnapper recorded it. 2 days after being taken, she was drugged one last time, loaded into her captor's car, and driven to an unexpected place. Huntington Beach, California, her hometown, and that's where he set her free. In shock and still feeling the effects of the drugs, a very calm Denise asked to use a phone from a gardener to call the police. Upon her reappearance, the Vallejo Police called the kidnapping a hoax and likened it to the story of Gone Girl, which had only come out as a movie the year before. They questioned Denise's calm manner, how the ransom was never paid but she was released, and released only a short distance from her mom's house. They began to treat the couple as suspects rather than victims. Vallejo Police Department Public Information Officer Lieutenant Kenny Park gave a scathing press conference, saying Denise wasted police's resources, called her a liar, and said, quote, "If anything, it is Mr. Quinn and Miss Huskins that owes this community an apology." Then the San Francisco Chronicle got some very interesting emails from an anonymous writer who said he was one of the kidnappers. The tone of the emails was boastful and referred to other crimes they had committed, including stealing a car, and referred to the group as gentlemen kidnappers, comparing themselves to Ocean's 11. The emails also supported the couple's version of events, saying Denise was, quote, absolutely kidnapped. We did it. We will provide incontrovertible proof of that. Attached were 2 photos, one of the room she was kept in, and a flashlight taped to a toy gun that was used in the home invasion. The Vallejo police thought that Denise and Aaron had manufactured the emails to back up their story. When the emails suddenly stopped, it seemed to confirm the cops' theory, and for months, the media and police called the kidnapping a hoax. The couple were made out to be liars, and their reputations were destroyed. Can you imagine that you go through the worst event of your life, and not only are you not believed, but you're made out to be the villain? That'll change on June 5th, 2015, 40 miles south of Vallejo in Dublin, California. Another home invasion occurred at around 3 a.m. in the morning. And just like Denise and Aaron had been, a couple was confronted by an intruder who shined a bright light in their faces and attempted to restrain them with zip ties. But this couple fought back, scaring the intruder enough that he fled the scene, leaving behind something crucial: his cell phone, which the Dublin police used to trace back to Matthew Moeller. On the surface, he looked stable, a former Marine, a Harvard Law School graduate, and a San Francisco lawyer. But underneath all that, his life was imploding. He had filed for bankruptcy in 2014, was getting a divorce, and had been disbarred. After the foiled attempt in Dublin, it was discovered Mueller had been living in a house in South Lake Tahoe. At the house, they found a car matching the description of the stolen car in the emails sent to the San Francisco Chronicle. Inside the house, they found tons of evidence, including a pair of duct-taped swim goggles and the toy gun he had sent a picture of, linking him to the Vallejo kidnapping. Moeller was arrested on June 8th. Federal prosecutors say Moeller used a remote-controlled drone to spy on his victims before he broke into their home. Once inside, he tied them up and forced them to drink a sleep-inducing liquid. He put goggles and headphones on them, playing a pre-recorded message that made it seem as if there were more than one kidnapper. Moeller claims he suffers from Gulf War illness and bipolar disorder. He pled guilty to 1 count of kidnapping in exchange for 40 years rather than a life sentence. On July 13, 2015, nearly 4 months after Denise and Aaron's ordeal began, the FBI announced in a press release that Matthew Moeller had been charged the prior month in connection with the Vallejo kidnapping. Denise and Aaron held a press conference that day with their attorneys, who claimed the Vallejo Police Department owed them an apology. All the couple got as far as an apology was a letter from the police department. The couple sued the city of Vallejo over their mistreatment. The couple expressed a belief that if Denise hadn't been released, if she had been killed, then Aaron would have been locked away forever for her murder. 2 lives would have been over because the police refused to believe them. They also noted the police mishandled aspects of the case. Like, the kidnapper said he would call Aaron's cell phone with instructions on the ransom, but when Aaron told the police this, they took his phone away and put it on airplane mode. And Moeller had called the cell phone twice, which the police could have tracked to South Lake Tahoe and possibly saved Denise from being assaulted. Also, the police hadn't reached out across jurisdictions to check if there were any similar cases, when in fact, in 2009, there were 2 cases with eerily similar MOs. The couple believes this was not Moeller's first home invasion, and they don't believe he acted alone. They eventually got a settlement from the city of Vallejo for $2.5 million, though that doesn't fix what happened to them. They do have each other and have since gotten married, though their story isn't over yet. A claim was filed in March of 2020 in which Captain John Whitney alleges he was discharged from the Vallejo Police Department for speaking out on a variety of misconduct issues, including Denise Huskin's kidnapping. According to the claim, former Vallejo Police Department Chief Andrew Badu directed Whitney to delete text messages on his cell phone so that they could not be used during the litigation involving Huskin's kidnapping, and conceal the fact that Chief Badu told Lieutenant Kenny Park to, quote, burn that bitch. And that is the story of the Gone Girl kidnapping and the rampant police misconduct that went along with it. And if you'd like to hear more stories like that, please subscribe.